Hi, I'm Matt Teagarden. I'm a retired clinical social worker. Spent the last 24 years of my career working in Jefferson County Public Schools. 21 of those years were at Arvada High School. I want to share a model of understanding how trauma affects the brain. I've shared this with I don't even know how many young people over the course of my career since I learned it. I think it's a great model that gives a lot of information pretty quickly. It comes from the National Institute of Trauma and Loss in Children, which is out of Detroit, Michigan. A social worker up there named Shay Soma. If you're interested, she's got like a half an hour long presentation on this same idea where she really drills down. But I think what we're going to talk about here may help you. If you've experienced trauma and it'll help you understand a little bit of what you might be experiencing in a way that makes sense, okay? All right, here it is. I hope this is going to work on my little cell phone. This represents your spinal cord, okay? It goes all the way down your body, bang, it sends out nerves and everything goes out there that communicates up and down, okay? This is your spinal cord. If a baby has a typically developing pregnancy, by the time they're born, that spinal cord is fully intact, okay? It's all together. Now at the top of the spinal cord, right up here, sits your brain stem. Your brain stem is responsible for all those things that your body does without thinking. Your heartbeat, your breathing, all of that natural stuff. I don't know if you've ever, some of you may drive, some of you may not, but if you've ever, somebody swerved in front of you or you were with somebody and somebody swerved in front of you, that startle response that you get when it first starts, boom, that's coming out of your brain stem. It's shooting all those chemicals out into your body to kind of get you activated for whatever may come. Brain stem. On top of the brain stem is what's called your limbic system. Your limbic system can be thought of as the survival part of your brain. Okay? In a few minutes, we're going to talk about the thinking part of your brain, but this is the limbic system. This is where we have our primary trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, or fold. And actually, they're discovering some more trauma responses, but let's go with those four for now. Fight. Well, let's start with flight, okay? Because most people's immediate reaction to threat is to try and get away. That's what most of us are going to want to do. We're going to try and get away or try to find help. If that doesn't work, then we go into fight mode. And that's when our body kicks in and we start to experience adrenaline and all that other stuff that gets us in a really amped up place to fight for our lives. If that doesn't work, many people will freeze. And when we talk about freeze, it involves a word called dissociation, and that's where you shut down and you become numb to everything that's going on around you. The final trauma response that we're going to talk about today is fold. And that's when you collapse. That's when your body gives out and you collapse. Okay, so here's our survival part of our brain, the limbic system. It's got these four trauma responses in here, okay? This right here is called your amygdala. Your amygdala is like the smoke detector for your body. The amygdala is that part of your brain that picks up on signals that there's danger going on. And it communicates then to the limbic system and sets this whole process off. Amygdala. Three major things. There's a lot of, the brain's incredibly complicated. I don't want you to think that I understand it all. I'm just telling you some stuff that I know and that people have found helpful. At least three major things happen inside the limbic system. One is sensation. Sensation is how your body feels. How your body feels. So that if again, let's go back to somebody swerving in front of you in busy traffic. You might be startled, you might be scared, you might be upset. But when we talk about sensations, we're talking about how your body feels. It's that shakiness, it's that shortness of breath, it's that feeling like things have kind of raised up into your chest, sensations, okay? The second thing is deep-seated and conditioned emotions and memories. What are we talking about? Memories. If I asked you, what did you have for lunch 3 weeks ago on Tuesday? If you asked me what I had for lunch yesterday, I might not be able to remember. But the memories we're talking about here are memories that are charged with emotion, like a trauma memory can be. A lot of people can be very vague in their memories about this, that, or the other thing, but when it comes down to the worst thing that ever happened to them, many times they can have very detailed memories of those. And when we talk about emotionally conditioned feelings or emotions, we're not talking about anger. We're talking about rage. We're not talking about fear. We're talking about terror. We're not talking about confusion or being spacey. We're talking about dissociating, where you literally cut off from what's going on around you, okay? Those kind of emotions. And then the other thing that happens in the amygdala, so we got sensation, emotionally conditioned memories, and images sometimes flash into our mind. We also have deep-seated emotional regulation, meaning the ability to control rage and terror and dissociation. So these are the tasks that are going on inside the amygdala, okay? Now, remember the limbic system. You remember the amygdala, the smoke detector? For most people, this whole limbic system is wrapped up like that. The amygdala is tucked up inside of all that stuff. There's a little of it still out. I mean, we have to be aware of what's going on around us, but it's wrapped up pretty tight like this. And then this whole other part of your brain, which is the upper, the outer, and the front part of your brain. This can be thought of as your thinking brain, okay? This can be, okay, if this is the survival part of your brain, this is the thinking part of your brain. For most people, all this is wrapped up pretty tight, and this thinking part of their brain comes in and covers it, and this is how they go through their day. Oh, she said something mean to me. No big deal. I don't really care about her anyway. Whoosh. This kind of style, okay? And for most people, go back to the car situation on the highway, something like this will happen. Somebody will swerve in front of them and they'll go like this, but it comes right back together, okay? For some people, and I should tell you this too, I mean, some of this might apply to you, some of it might not. People are unique, man. Everybody experiences things on their own terms, okay? So, but for a lot of people who have experienced trauma and are kind of stuck there, the amygdala, instead of being tucked up in here, is out there all the time. So that amygdala is always trying to keep us safe, trying to pick up on cues of danger or things like this. A young person I worked with many years ago, wonderful, wonderful person. And it didn't take much before there was a problem, because there's a word for it called hypervigilance. All of us need to be aware, but somebody who's living like this, they're always on red zone alert. Does that make sense? So this is one thing that happens to some people who are struggling to get through trauma. The other thing that happens related to this is what somebody who hasn't experienced severe trauma might think is a little thing can be a huge thing for somebody who's still working through that stuff. What'll happen is something that somebody else thinks is not such a big thing, but this person's already looking for danger. So that happens, and then boom, this thinking part of the brain goes away. And remember those three things: sensation, emotionally conditioned memories and images, and emotional regulation, deep emotional regulation. All of a sudden, those things are going wild. The person's body is flooded with stress hormones, and so their body's either on fire or could be completely numb and shut down. Sensations. Second thing is their mind could be flooded with deep and old feelings, emotions, or memories, even images from the past, okay? And then the third thing is that ability to control our deep feelings. It gets stressed, and it may be a little harder to do. But the key thing is this: when all that stuff is going off for this person, this part of the brain is hard to get a hold of in those moments. Now, over time, we learn coping mechanisms, and we start to understand ourselves better, and we start to restructure our brain a little bit, and this stuff comes back together. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The work of getting through this is to restructure our brain, to learn to experience the world differently. Some of that is learning how to harness that amygdala and bring it in. And some of that is building these skills so that when a crisis happens, we don't blow up with this, but we're more able to go like this. Listen, I hope that makes sense. Hopefully you're watching this with somebody who can talk through it with you. I want to tell you, some of it's going to apply to you, some of it isn't, okay? Here's the main thing, and I believe this in my heart. I had a mentor who told me, I am the sum total of every experience I've had in my life so far. What does that mean? Depending on when you're looking at this video, I am 64 years of experiences. And when I learn something new today, that's going to change who I am. Growth, right? This is something I believe. From incredibly terrible things can come unimaginable strength if we do the work. Okay? So my challenge to you is keep talking to whoever's showing you this tape and stay strong. You could very well have more strength than a lot of other people. All right? Hey, thanks a lot. Tell the person who's you're watching this with that if they got any questions or want to talk some more, give me a call. Thank you.